In Part 3 of this series, we'll demonstrate the unpacking of the clean top, optical top, and adjusting the control valves to float the system. These tops can be very heavy. Follow proper lifting and handling procedures for heavy objects. Use tin snips to break the banding. Exercise caution. The plywood top and sides are screwed as a unit. The cardboard corners should be unscrewed from the base. The top and the sides can be removed together as a single assembly. This leaves the optical top and bottom skid. The bottom skid and optical top can be lifted slightly off the ground. Once this is done, the plywood skid can be bent away from the underside of the optical top, and some sort of shim block can be used between the underside of the optical top and the top of the bottom skid. Position these shim blocks carefully. The fork tines can be lowered and the optical top will be resting on the shim blocks. The forklift can now be repositioned directly under the optical top and lift it free of the bottom skid. The optical top can be placed on the frame. Use a tape measure to align the top so that there are equal amounts of overhang along each edge. Sliding the top once it is set down on the isolation system is not recommended, since this can cause misalignment of the isolator, or worse, pinching the internal workings of the isolator. Lift the top slightly and position correctly. Prior to placing the optical top on the isolation system, take a second to align the black load discs with the shiny aluminum clamp ring. Now we can adjust the valve control arms to allow air to flow into the isolators. Starting with the back left leg, tighten the red thumb screw until the valve arm is horizontal. Most likely, a few turns are required. If you were to pull down on the valve control arm, you will hear air flowing into the isolator. It will take a few seconds or more for the isolator to completely inflate and raise up the isolator. Feel free to do this at this time to gain a feel for how these work. Next, unscrew and extend the foam pad screw until it comes in contact with the underside of the table, and raise the pad up until the table is floating about 3/8 of an inch between the black load disc and the aluminum clamp ring. Note, you may have to turn the foam pad screw 5 to 10 turns until proper float height is reached. Once you reach that height, move on to the next leg. Second, we will adjust the front right leg. Cycle the lever arm, making sure the isolator responds and is set at 3/8 of an inch float height, exactly the same way as the first leg. Do not pay attention to the positions of the other legs, since we have not adjusted all the legs and the table is not floating evenly. Third, adjust the front left leg to the same float height. Notice the back right leg comes back down when the front left leg is raised. Once all three valves are adjusted to the 3/8 inch float height, the table is ready to use. You may have to go back and make some small adjustments to the foam pad screw to make sure each leg is even. You may also want the valve lever arm to be roughly horizontal as well. This concludes the three-part series to TMC's clean top optical table and gimbal piston isolation system setup.